I'm Lisa, one of your Sonlight mentors, and for our live this week, I twisted my daughter's arm to join us. I will just let you know she's here under duress, but she has graciously agreed to chat with me some about her experience after completing one semester of college after being homeschooled with Sonlight. So if you're joining us, and I'll just go ahead and admit to you that I am further away from my phone camera than normal. So I may not be able to read everything, but I'm going to try really hard. So if you're joining us, I would love for you to just drop a comment with your name, where you're from, maybe even if you're experiencing Christmas time weather here. A lot of you know we're in Florida, so we are not experiencing Christmas time weather. It's in the 70s still today, but Rebecca says it's hot. So yeah. But this is my daughter, Rebecca. She is the youngest in our family. She graduated from our homeschool this spring in May. She was only ever homeschooled with Sonlight. We tease her that she was homeschooled from birth. She did start with Sonlight when she was 4. She did not do a separate HBL program herself until she reached high school, right? You always went with your sister, a separate core.
Oh.
Really not until you got to high school. You always worked with Rachel.
I think so.
Yeah, so when she started, I believe that we were in HBLB. Okay, I see someone. Oh, hi, Alara in Texas. Thanks for joining us. I bet you're still having summertime weather too here in Texas. So when she was 4, I believe that we were in HBLB. Yes, still summertime in Texas. And so she just did Sonlight K for language arts and Singapore K for math. That was her work. We used a reason for handwriting, so she did that as well. And then she listened in as she wanted to. At 4, I did not require her to listen. Often she was playing. But then she would pipe up with some fact at dinner time when we talked about what we learned. She might not even remember any of that. She was kind of tiny. But she often read her, I can read it, readers, the fun tales at the dinner table. She would say, Daddy, I'm going to read you a story. And she would get her Sonlight Fun Tales book out and read about Pam and Sam to her dad and her bat. That's right. So she is a Sonlight kid through and through. Hope in Minnesota. Now you are having winter weather. I've been snowed in Minnesota in April. And I always ask people in Minnesota, didn't they know it was warmer other places? Because we are not snow girls. Although I think Rebecca likes snow better than I do. Yeah, well, but you like cold better than me for sure. So I was just going to start by asking Rebecca what her favorite thing about being homeschooled was. So what was your favorite thing, Rebecca, about being homeschooled?
I think one of my favorite things was just being able to be flexible and have the schedule that worked for our family and for us. I remember every day finishing school and going to go swim in the pool with my sister for what felt like hours every day. And also just with things our family was experiencing with my grandparents, it allowed us to spend a lot of time with them that we wouldn't have gotten if we had been in school.
Well, we like to spend time with our grandparents in general, but why especially were we spending time with our grandparents?
My grandmother had cancer while I was growing up. She had lung cancer, and so we knew that our time with her would be short, but we got to take care of her and just be able to bless them in that way and just spend more time with her.
Yeah. So that really was a blessing to our family that we weren't tied to anyone's schedule. We were able definitely to drop school at a minute's notice if she needed something.
A lot.
Yeah, which did get to be kind of frequent towards the end for sure. But I think of all the things that I taught you, that may be the most important thing.
Yeah, it was nice to be able to just spend the time where we knew it was most valuable.
Right, because we had the rest of our lives to learn and just not a lot of time with her. So that was good. Anything else that you liked about being homeschooled? Do you remember when we would go to co-op like at 9 and the kids were already at school, and then we would come home after we'd been to co-op, and where did we go for lunch?
Chick-fil-A.
Rebecca's favorite restaurant.
We went there for lunch today.
And we would come home from lunch, and my girls would always be like, Mom, the kids are still at school. And they had learned. So we've had some new people, Canada and Australia.
Wow.
Like, that is amazing. I'm so happy that you guys are here. Welcome. I have no idea
to Australia, so
what the weather is in Australia. I think you're backwards, right? It's summer for you. And then I'm sure that you're cold in Canada, and I'm sorry. All right, so we talked about your favorite book. What was one? And I know it's hard to pick a favorite because we've read so many books, but you did mention one that you really liked.
Yeah, reading is also not my favorite thing to do, but I do remember from probably like early middle school or like elementary school, a book called Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, about a little girl and her goldfish, and at the beginning something about a grain of rice.
That's true. That's true. Yep, summer in Australia and Connecticut, also cold there.
Sure.
Yeah, it's in HBLF, the Eastern Hemisphere, and I believe it's the first read aloud, Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. And then you don't really, she said, she's not my reader. I have 3 children. 2 would rather read a book than do a lot of things. Rebecca would rather do a lot of things than read a book.
Any day. But I do remember going back and reading it again on my own time when I was forced to have reading time during the summer. But of all the books I could choose, I do remember choosing that one to read again because I really enjoyed it.
It is a sweet story. I've read it more than once myself, and I'm a grown-up. Okay, so I did post and ask if you guys had any questions, and Lauren here in the app had said she wanted to know from Rebecca, how was Sonlight different for her once she was responsible for reading the books on her own? It's like once you got to high school and you had to read on your own.
Yeah, like I said, I hate reading, and I would rather do anything else. But I do struggle with reading. I don't feel like I comprehend the best in that way, but with Sonlight it was easy to figure out a way to still be able to learn well, and so I would either get books on Audible or through the online library and listen to books, and I could do a puzzle or something else while I listened to it, or just find a way to be able to comprehend. Oh, we got a big comment.
Oh, okay. Oh, Sunny says, Sunny is actually our community manager at Sonlight. You've probably seen her and her beautiful children doing the Advent study. But Sunny says she really likes to hear from you. So Rebecca was not really happy about coming, but you're making her feel good.
Oh, I'm glad. But we were able to just learn through Audible, auditory learning, or my mom still read to me a lot, even through freshman, sophomore year, which I enjoyed, spending more time with my mom, in that. And
her mom enjoyed that too.
We were able to, just really comprehend what I was learning instead of just, reading it just to get it done. We would talk about it and, figure out what we could learn from it and the key concepts from it.
So her sister is older by 3 years, and she's a very different kind of learner. I think Rebecca hit the nail on the head. She's very much an auditory learner. She would much rather have something explained to her than have to read about it. So her sister was the opposite. She really was one of those that I know probably some of you have. Yes, independent and chomping at the bit to get to the books herself because maybe she could read faster. She wanted to do it herself. I think Rebecca's right. She's independent. So with her, I did meet with her twice a week to talk about the books. I had read them also because I am a reader. Rebecca and I did Level J, which I'd never done with her sister, so I was happy to read those books with her because I hadn't read those before.
We read a lot of the history books together.
Yes, and then also the history of the church we did that Rachel didn't do, so that was fun for me to do it with her because, again, it was something I had not experienced before. So that's the beauty of Sonlight, is that it works for those kids that want to read by themselves, and it works for kids that don't enjoy reading, or maybe they have a learning challenge like dyslexia that makes reading hard. There's still ways to adapt to make it work for them, and you still learned, right? We still learned together, which was fun. And then on Facebook, Rebecca, someone asked, it was Trisha, what do you feel prepared you the most for college with Sonlight, learning from Sonlight?
I think that with being homeschooled in general and Sonlight prepared me a lot to like manage my own time and just be responsible with getting my work done diligently. In college, there's nobody that's telling you to get your homework done. If you don't turn it in, your teacher really doesn't care. And so you just have to be diligent enough on your own time to get things done and do things well. I think that's another thing is like with Sonlight, if I didn't do something right the first time, it was very easy to go back and like fix it and figure out the actual problem rather than just turning in homework and getting a bad grade on it. Just being able to actually understand things I maybe hadn't been getting quite as well. So that's been really helpful, just my time management and as well as critical thinking skills, like with the reading and just comprehending more what's behind the facts of what we're learning, but the concepts have really helped me. And I don't think I ever realized that that's something that I excelled at until I got to college and saw that other people maybe didn't excel at that as much and were having a harder time like with the structure of college and like the layout of everything and the tests. But it's been something that I thought was really scary, but it was actually pretty easy just because of what I had learned when I was younger.
So that was a question I had written down to ask you because I remember when we started talking about going to college and then getting ready to go to college, you were very nervous that you were ill prepared because Rebecca really hasn't ever had another teacher except for me. She took Spanish at a local 2-day-a-week co-op because I'm sure you can tell I don't speak Spanish. And she took anatomy, the Apologia Advanced Biology, Human Anatomy and Physiology. Not because I didn't want to teach her, but I had dissected the frog and the fish and the worm, and I wasn't going to dissect a brain or an eye or a heart. And so she was really happy about it, so they were offering it 1 year, and she did take that there.
As a sophomore.
Yes, a sophomore in a senior class, that's true. Fun fact from my other daughter's mother-in-law.
Yeah.
But really, those were the only classes she'd ever really taken outside of our home. And so
since like co-op when I was like 24.
Yeah, we had done co-op when she was in elementary school, but it wasn't academic. Like it was no homework or anything.
And it was science, which I like.
Yes. So she was very apprehensive, is that fair to say, about how she felt like she would do in college. And so, tell them what your grade is for the first semester.
I just finished my first semester with all A's, which was very happy. Pulled one through at the last second, but you know what? We did it. But I was pretty nervous. I had never really taken tests like that, or even when I was going into college, like studying for the SAT, I was really nervous about doing well on that. Like I had never been in a timed test-taking situation like standardized testing ever.
We don't have to do that in our state. I know some of you, even though you homeschool, you do still have to participate in standardized testing. In Florida, it is an option if you'd like to do it, but it is not required, and neither one of my girls did well under pressure like that. So that's not a route that we went. So yeah, the SAT was probably the first time you had ever taken a standardized test either.
Yeah.
But did awesome on it.
Yeah, that was very encouraging before going into college, like figuring out that I did well on a test. I just had no idea how I would perform under that circumstance. But it went well, and I've done well on almost every test in college. There have been a few that didn't go quite as well as I planned, but it's okay. But I do feel very well prepared, and like for English, I feel like I was very well prepared as far as like going through stuff with Sonlight and IEW. As far as writing, it came very naturally to me, even as a subject that I didn't think I excelled at very well. I don't like English. But I did really well, and I enjoy now being in like a classroom setting and like having that basis of like how to learn on my own and like take things away that aren't being directly handed to me. Is really helpful, like just being able to learn more by example from my teacher and what they're expecting of me, even if it's not clearly written out, like this is what you have to do. But just being able to excel in that has been good.
Anything you guys would like to know from Rebecca, you can drop it in, and I'm going to ask her one more question. Sheila said, "Oh no, you don't like English."
Sorry, Miss Sheila.
Miss Sheila did, she was our emergency on-call grammar guru.
We took class with her.
We did go to Sheila's house and learn grammar, including myself.
I like grammar more than I like writing, to be fair. That part's not as bad.
But if you have a question that you want Rebecca to answer, other than how come she doesn't like English, you can drop it.
Science. That's my favorite.
Science is Rebecca's favorite. In fact, she alluded to taking a science class at co-op. We were already doing Sonlight Science at home. I'd already ordered for the next year, and she saw that there was actually the first class you ever took there was
like biology,
was anatomy,
marine biology.
And she said, "Mom, this is what I really want to take." And I said, "Well, no." And she said, "But yes." She said, "But Mom, I really, really want to take this." And I said, what all homeschool moms say, "I've already paid for this curriculum. You're going to use this curriculum." And it was what we knew, Sonlight Science. But she said, "I'll do both." And I said, "Well, that's great, but I'm not doing the projects. I'm not, don't be stressed out with me because you're overloaded." And she said, "No problem, Mom." And she did. Here's a question, Rebecca. Did you find that Sonlight Science prepared you for college? But you haven't taken a science class yet, have you?
No, my major is sports management in college, so I believe next year I'll be taking more like sports physiology and more science-based class. But I haven't really come in contact with that yet in college. But I do feel like I have a pretty good background of it. I have actually been able to help some of my friends with their science without even taking the class yet.
Not only have you helped your friends
with
questions. Science, you've helped them with other classes as well, right?
Yeah.
Your friends have figured out that
I don't do the homework for them, I only help them. They do tend to come to me. Everybody kind of knows, like, I know what's going on, and they don't.
Any problems with applying to college or working with admissions, as it's a problem with homeschool transcripts, or needing to prove what you know? Well,
I didn't apply.
We only applied to one school, the school that she got into, and we'll be honest and say that she is playing soccer there, and so she was.
But I don't get paid to play soccer.
No, but you were recruited to come to that school.
So they did want me for soccer, and academically, my school is not very difficult to get into.
No, they are actually a very accommodating school, but as far as her SAT scores, she qualified for our state scholarship. So her SAT scores were upper. They did not give me any trouble about my transcript. I just did it on an Excel sheet. I know Sheila has shown her transcripts. Her kids have gone to, Rebecca's at a private school. Her kids, all three of Sheila's children, have gone to public Florida universities, all on Sheila's transcript. I know Jonna, who's a mentor, has 3 who go to an Alabama public school, and they all went in on Jonna's transcript. Christy, a mentor, her first graduated the same time as Rebecca. I believe he's at a private school, but I think he didn't have any trouble. So no, it's really not a problem. In fact, I know Rebecca's school seeks out homeschoolers because of all the things she talked about that she found to be true. So I don't think you need to worry about that. I think as long as you keep good records, and usually at whatever school you're interested in, Ashley, there is a person on staff who works with the homeschoolers, and if you can get connected with that person, they'll let you know what is needed there. I don't know if Sheila is still here watching. She might jump in because her kids all didn't go to the same school.
I do know like several friends of mine that are now at big schools like Liberty in Virginia, or I have a friend that is in the process of applying to Cedarville. Just big schools, and not that I know of have any issue.
Yeah. So Sheila says, yep, she's here. So Ashley, if you wanted to reach out to Sheila on the app, she might be able to tell you something more about getting into a public school. But my general world is homeschoolers. I don't know a lot of kids outside of homeschool, and none of them have ever had any trouble getting into a school. So I think you're fine. So Rebecca, I wanted to wrap up. When I talk to moms on the convention floor or here on the app or on Facebook, they all ask the same question. Do you think your kids are going to be okay? Do you think they're going to be normal? Does this work? Should I only homeschool through elementary and then send them to school so they can be like everybody else? So what would you say to those moms or dads who wonder, is this worth it?
Well, just for one, as far as will my kids be normal, I will say that almost everybody I come into contact with, if I mention that I was homeschooled, they are very shocked. They never can tell that I was homeschooled. They're like, you don't seem like you were homeschooled. Like, you're not weird. I'm like, well,
she is weird. She's not telling you the truth.
They don't think I'm a weird homeschooler.
There you go.
They can't tell just by like the way that I interact with other people, like socially. That I was homeschooled. My teachers always have told me that I seem like I was very well educated, very well spoken as far as with adults and in general conversation and academics. But I do think that it's worth it. I have excelled in college and just been able to find a good balance between like my social life and still excelling in class. And I just think that it's been a really good experience and that it was worth it to keep me out of the world as far as that goes. It has been nice to have a very firm background on what I believe and what I know to be true of who I want to be. Going into college, I think that it would have been a lot harder for me in high school and middle school to stay committed to my values and my faith as far as that goes. Like, it was nice to have this at home and like we can talk about all that stuff with my mom because I'm not going to get in trouble for talking about it.
Because even though you go to a Christian school, you have encountered things that you are just yeah.
It definitely is still like any other school as far as I know, even though I go to a Christian Baptist, very small private school. But it's been good. I feel like I'm definitely well prepared for it.
So Ashley, I hope you're reading Sheila's comments. She's still chatting with you. Timothy has said the same thing Rebecca said about you didn't seem like you were homeschooled. Yeah, Sheila's kids are pretty normal too. I can vouch for that. And I'll tell you, when I took Rachel, her sister, to school in Texas, a father said, "Could I talk to you for just a minute?" And I was like, "What the world? We've been here like 20 minutes. How could we have offended you already?" But he said, "I heard you mention that you homeschooled your daughter, and she seems like really normal." So
I get that a lot.
So yeah, I do. As far as two moms and dads, is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it. To listen to her talk about, just spending time with us, spending time with her grandmother as she was dying. being strong in her faith and knowing who she is, that makes my investment worth it. We gave up some stuff, as I know all of you have, to homeschool, but I feel like even if I'm not rewarded here, because I was obedient to what the Lord had for our family, maybe I'll have an extra bathroom or something in my mansion in heaven. But no, I do say it is worth whatever you have to give up to invest in your children, because there's no one that loves your kids more than you do outside of God. And it's worth investing in what they, in their formative years. They have the rest of their life to learn. I was an inadequate teacher. Rebecca and I were talking about that she doesn't know everything. She has learned things in college that I didn't teach her. But I did teach her to love Jesus, and I did teach her how to learn. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
I taught her the value of learning. And so it is worth it. So from a mom's perspective and from one kid's perspective, at least, it's worth sticking to it, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you guys interacted, that you were here. I hope this was helpful. Rebecca hopes it's helpful because she
better be worth something.
I'll have to take her to Chick-fil-A or something. But I do appreciate you guys being here, and I hope it was helpful. And if you think of something that you want to know, Rebecca's home for a month. She'll respond via text. But I just hope you have a great afternoon. I probably won't see your face before Christmas, so I hope you have a blessed Christmas season, and that you remember why we're doing all this, and have a lovely, lovely day.